Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, May 22nd, and you're here on Morning Light with me. Thanks, and I hope you're up and at it. Today, we want to continue in our series this week on forgiveness or unforgiveness. This is a tough topic. I know a lot of you have sent me some messages saying, you're a little anxious about this, that, not sure you want to go down this road, but I hope you'll be willing to allow God to meet you with something that He wants to teach all of us about. In the real acid test, so to speak, to know if you are truly a person who's willing to forgive or has a heart of forgiveness is somebody that is willing to bear up or have long suffering with difficult people. So today I want you to think of the one difficult person in your life. I know we all have one, so identify them. Who is it in your world, and write that down, whether mentally or somewhere, but just know someplace that nobody can see it. So what I want you to do is think of that one difficult person. And today I want to read again out of Luke 6, and I'm going to be reading out the Amplified Version today. And I want to read it because there's some words in there that is brought to light that maybe you wouldn't have thought about as much as if you just read like the NIV or the ESV or just the traditional version. So listen to this. It's kind of lengthy, so hang with me. It says, "But I say to you who hear me and pay attention to my words, love, that is, unselfishly seek the best or higher good for your enemies." There it is. "Make it a practice to do good for those who hate you. Bless and show kindness to those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Whoever strikes you on the cheek, offer him the other. Also, simply ignore insignificant insults or losses and do not bother to retaliate. Maintain your dignity. Whoever takes away your coat, do not withhold your shirt from him either. Give it to everyone who asks of you. Whoever takes away what is yours, do not demand it back. Treat others the same way you want them to treat you. If you only love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend money to those from whom you expect to receive it back, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, expecting to receive back the same amount." But here it is, verse 35. "But love, that is, unselfishly seek the best or higher good for your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, for your reward will be great, rich, abundant, and you will be sons of the Most High, because He Himself is kind and gracious and good to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, responsive, compassionate, tender, just as your Heavenly Father is merciful to you." Now, that is a loaded set of verses that we need to camp on for more than a day, more than a week. We really need to get in there, hang into those words, pick them apart. If you're a studier, go and find out what those Greek words mean and some of those words, because it talks that we honestly are to be long-suffering. And what is that key word in there? It's long. That means we are to put up with some things for a long time. Now, there are boundaries. I'm not going to say that your difficult person may not need boundaries. We all need boundaries. So I want to just preface today's teaching with that. Not to say that you don't set boundaries and let people take advantage of you, because there might be some situations that you're like, you have no idea how difficult this person really is. I do. But one of the things that I think we often don't realize or consider is that that person is the person we need the most in our life. And you may say, "What are you saying, Shannon?" Well, I think God puts those people in our life to make us what He desires us to be and to have the heart that we need to have. A lot of times I call these people river rock people. So think about in the river where you find a river rock and they're real smooth, and it's because they've been tumbled around, or sometimes these are called sandpaper people, and they come up and rub against you. And what God is using or allowing these people to do in your life is to smooth out the rough edges, even though they're really rough. And it's making you a better person. Now, would we sign up for it? No. Would we choose to do it? No. But God knows that that's what we need, and He knows our heart. Remember, He's always looking at our heart. He's not looking at this exterior of how much we can make it be pretty or how much we can fake it to make it, clean it up, and make it everything that we think that looks good to the outside. God is looking at your heart, and He sees right through that. So God may be sending a difficult person in your life that that you may need to forgive every single day of your life. You may need to forgive every hour of your life. Who knows? But God is asking you to come up higher. So one of the few things I want you to do today is kind of a little the acid test, like I entitled this on forgiveness, is this. One, I want you to identify that difficult person like we talked about. Two, I want you to start praying for that person for about 2 to 3 weeks. Now, if you're angry with this person, I have people too in my life that just frustrate the heck out of me, and I live more in anger than I do anything with these people. God wants you to start praying for these people. Here's the thing. Prayer and anger, honest prayer and anger can't live together. They're not going to stay together. So when you truly start praying for this person, like we talked about in Luke here, 6, to bless these people, bless those who curse you. Pray for them. Pray that God would bless their life. Pray that God would bless their soul and their heart, their finances, their family. Find something tangible to ask God to pray for them about. 2, I want you to stop avoiding them. Excuse me, that's 3. Stop avoiding them. So many times our difficult person we tolerate, don't we? But we will go in the other direction. We will find anything and everything to do except be around them. We will stay so busy just to avoid being with them. We don't want to stay home with them. We don't want to, if we see them at work, we walk down the other aisle or down the other hallway. What is it that you do to avoid your difficult person? I want you to stop avoiding that difficult person. See them as Christ sees them, as chosen and holy, and that they too are dearly loved. Now, some of you may think that's a hard thing to do, and they have this, and this that's wrong with them. How could Christ love them? Well, the final question would be is, why would Christ love us? So many times when we are irritated and annoyed, there's an inferiority complex that's happening there. We think we're superior to them. Maybe they're less spiritual. Maybe they aren't as smart, or they don't have their life together. And so there's 2 different levels. We've put ourselves up here in a superior position and them down here in an inferior position. And God never wants us thinking that about anyone in this world. He says, I've chosen them too for myself. So would you be willing to not avoid them, but to see them as one of God's chosen children too? And also begin to serve them somehow. We talked about this yesterday. Would you be willing to serve them in a way that would really bless their socks off? Send them a card, send them a gas card, a coffee card, something to Tim Hortons or Starbucks or your local coffee shop. What do they love? What do they... I know people sent me Panera cards. They know when we go to the James, I love chai tea lattes. You know, something that really would touch my heart. Do that with somebody that would touch their heart. That means you might have to get to know them a little bit better. You may have to stop avoiding them, and you may have to get into their world a little bit. But if you know them well enough, I'm sure there's at least one thing that you know that they love. Would you be willing to bless them in the midst of your hate, your unforgiveness, and your angst toward them? Would you be willing to walk with them like Christ did? You know, Jesus hung out with the worst of the worst. He hung out with the prostitutes and the tax collectors, like we've talked about with the modern day drug dealers, how we feel about them. He hung out with the Samaritans, and the Jews and the Gentiles didn't like each other. I mean, he hung out with the people that everybody else hated and that he should have hated just because of his nationality. And he even, made friends with the Roman centurion who eventually, would kill him. So would you be willing to bless those who curse you? Would you be willing to turn the other cheek? Would you be willing to allow God to use those people as that river rock, that sandpaper, to scratch out the hard surfaces on you? Because in the big scheme of things, and when we can set ourselves apart from thinking that we're so great, God had to look at us in the same way that we look at them oftentimes and say, you know what? I see all the bad things in your life, and I love you in spite of those too. If we're going to be like Christ, we are going to have to imitate him. And that's just not an easy stuff. Christ didn't have an easy life while he was here on earth. He went about doing good all the time. And to those who were mean to him, he did turn the other cheek. He did offer the other side to insults to injury. So would you be willing to forgive those who curse you, who mock you? Would you be willing to bless them? Would you be willing to go into prayer for them for at least 2 weeks with me? I've got somebody in mind too. So hopefully you'll do this with me. It'll be a great challenge, and then allow God to begin to soften your heart. I think you will look and see some amazing things. Oftentimes we talk about, oh Lord, I pray for patience or humility or give me love. And then God gives us a really difficult person and we're like, oh, I don't want that, Lord. Well, those are the very things God is putting in your life to give you those characteristics that he so desperately wants you to be and have, not on a daily, on a week basis that, oh, I'm humble or patient this week. No, he wants your whole life to look like that. So would you be willing to allow God to work in you, to allow those people to come up and rub up against you, to make your life a little bit difficult, because that might be the person that God wants in your life the most, believe it or not, just to make you into something that he has for you. So I want to say, hey, to everybody today. There's all kinds of people listening this morning. I'm out here with the birds. It's beautiful. Kind of dreary. We had a great rain last night, great thunderstorm roll through, but I hope you get out there. Remember, you might be the only Jesus that somebody will ever see, and I say that so often. I don't say that flippantly. You really might be the only Jesus that somebody would ever see, and it's probably that difficult person in your life. So have a great Tuesday. We'll see you back here bright and early tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.